Okay. That's fine. Good apple.
They'll keep you hydrated. All right. All right, we're back. And John is back.
Oh,
Oh, that's all right.
hello.
Gotta finish your apple, man. No,
Oh, it's good. It's gone.
I know it's been a while since we had a podcast. Happy to be here with you again. I know
Welcome back, everyone.
you've been busy. I've been busy. We're going to kind of recap on what we have been doing and some different subjects we've been researching. Not that I've been doing a whole lot of research, more on like, I've been really interested in bail for some reason lately. I don't know why.
Well,
I'm just a weirdo, but
I think, yeah, well, you gotta, it's experience, even if you're not like researching information on the internet or reading books, you're still learning through life experience.
right. Yeah.
So you'll come across other people that have things to talk about, or you'll just have experiences in general that happen that kind of open your eyes to something that you've been thinking about for a long time. So either way, we're evolving and learning regardless of what avenue you're taking.
I feel that definitely. Yeah, and that's kind of what I've been doing. Like I mentioned to you, I'm starting a little business for our family, and mainly, like I don't want to be on the material side of things, but you do have to have your foundation before you can build upward, and you take care of your family first. Then you can kind of start moving into those more spiritual paths. What is it? I forget what it's called. It's like your five basic needs or whatever. But that's what I'm trying to get to in life at this point.
Yeah,
That way,
but let's remember also, Patrick, that we don't want to delve into that negative self-loathing feeling of, oh, I don't want to be a part of materials, or oh, I don't want to be part of negative things, or oh, I don't want to be part of religion, or you it's all part of the process. You know what I mean?
right.
No matter what experience you're going through, if it's failures or if you're actually making gains, everything's part of the process to becoming a better balanced being.
Right. Yeah. That's
As
that's what
long
I'm
as that's part of your plan.
yeah, yeah, I'm swallowing my pride on it and just kind of realizing that it has to be done to move forward. So, but you're right. You are right. No.
Yes, the ego and the pride thing is definitely more of an enemy than we believe.
Right. I would like to just go sit under a tree all day and meditate, but then my daughter would be pretty hungry, so
We don't have nobody has time for that. If you're
no,
in the game, you
not
know.
anymore. Yeah, we're all in it now.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too. Like, everybody's made and built from the day they're born to be a cog or a tool, a gear in this mechanism. So, like, just like a monk is in a monastery doing silent prayer their whole lives, they're doing that part to keep balance and harmony in in this universe as well. Just as people like us that are spreading knowledge by word of mouth, and so we're all doing our part.
Right. Right.
Even the
Yep.
most negative being on the planet, or I don't like planets, planes, or realm. I like to say realm.
Yeah.
And even the negative people in the realm, or the most positive people in the realm, or the most centered people in the realm, we're all playing our part, and we're all part of the machine.
I agree. Yeah. When you were talking, you had done
So I
some
saw,
research on a few things this last month. What had been interesting you lately?
well, that's the thing I've noticed recently. There's a heavy divide right now of people are really attacking each other and blaming each other for this or for that. But we all have to come to a realization that that's not what this is about. You got to stop judging each other and blaming each other for this or that, because we're all just playing our part in this whole thing until we come to this culmination. So there is no judgment and there is no blame. We're all just doing our part in this thing, and it's going to come to a head, and then the creation will spark from that, and then everybody will go where they're supposed to go for that next culmination.
I kind of yeah, I see that. I see that, and I see that a lot. Even in the truth movement, I see it in real life right now. But even in the truth movement, people seem to be attacking each other quite a bit. and trying to
Well,
call
yeah,
each
it's
other
no
out.
division, man. Everybody thinks that's pride and ego. Everybody thinks they're smarter than everybody else,
Yeah.
or they want to be more seen than everybody else and be more acknowledged for what they think because and it makes them feel special, which special is an illusion.
Right. Right. Because we're all just, excuse me, we're all just transferring
We're all
knowledge
just
from one to another. So it's not like
yeah,
I'm.
exactly.
And you can come
It's
up with your own ideas from a culmination of it all. But
right.
go
So
ahead.
like here's a good instance of this. So everybody in this realm arguing over religion or genders or police or schools or
Trans.
climate control or nature, everything that's in this existence that we know to be real is all a part of this this um this realm and this existence, and it's all part of um what am I getting to here? It's not it's not that important because we're if you really get down to the brass tacks of it and study etymology and study language that we're speaking, all the languages from English to Spanish to Italian or Japanese or any language, it all comes from the same origin. And what's going on here is the further the languages have been separated and divided and diversified, we've come to realize that it's actually backwards to nature. So like the alphabet is numerically backwards. So we're all speaking a language that if you don't understand the origins and the beginnings and the symbolization of words and letters, then what does the information really mean?
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean? It doesn't really mean much if you don't understand what you're actually saying. And I'll give an example right now. One of the easiest ones to give out, and I don't like the word easy, but I just used it. But Elizabeth Bathory, that's where the word bath comes from, or to bathe. And everybody says that word probably 3 times a day. I'm going to the bathroom. I need to go to the bathroom. I'm going to give the kids a bath. It, that word's used very commonly. And Elizabeth Bathory, she was a queen or something like that in some place. And you
I've
can
heard of her.
everybody can look this up on Google. And she would kill like young virgins and bathe in their blood. And that's where the word bath comes from.
Yep. I've heard of that.
And
I've heard of
that
her doing that.
words in every language, just says differently.
It's probably where the vampire origins came from. Makes a lot of sense. Bathing in young people's blood to stay young and whatnot.
Right.
That's
And even like
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, even vampires and stuff have evolved and transferred into positive beings and centered beings as well. Because what happens is when you're in a very negative place for a long time, eventually the pressure of being in that darkness on its own will pressurize you and burst you into life, and then you'll actually go the opposite direction. Just as if you're a very great religious and positive being and you're only in that realm, then eventually that will burst and you'll actually go into a darker realm.
That's strange you said that, and especially relating to vampires. Before I get off in this tangent, have you seen Ambrosia, the company?
Uh-uh.
No. So there's this new company. They're called Ambrosia. What they do is they take young people's blood and they put it in old people, and it's actually proven
Oh
to
yeah, I've
have
heard of that.
anti-aging effects. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Alice Cooper's been getting blood transfusions for a long time in that regard, and so was one of the another one of those old guys. Like a lot of the old musicians do it that are still alive.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean they're still alive. It kind of ties into that whole vampirism thing, and I think there's a lot more credibility to that than people give credit. I guess is the word I'm looking for, but
You know,
that excuse me. The
there was
I had a crazy dream where someone in my family who I look up to, it wasn't long ago either. It's since the last time we talked, and it was super vivid. But I was hanging with him, and like right before he left, we were cool, we were chilled. Few weird things happened in the dream. There was like a bank robbery, weird stuff like that, random dreams. But then as soon as he left, and I know who it was in my family, then he turned around and his face kind of turned into like a weird vampire face, and I was like, oh. And then he just kind of like walked away and told me where he was going and to meet me there, and that was the end of the dream. And after I woke up from that, I felt so weird, man. But he is too, like you said, is very religious person, very strongly religious, and always has been a good person. That dream just confused the crap out of me because I was like, why would my mind do that and turn him into a vampire? But anyways, like I said, it was a tangent. So
Yeah, so if you're traveling in either direction, if you're just in the negative realm or if you're just in the positive realm, eventually it'll flip on you because this is a very reflective realm with water and mirrors and all that kind of stuff. It's very reflective here. So, and that's what happens with judgment and karma. When, let's say, you're judging a certain kind of being and you're like constantly talking trash about that kind of a being, eventually the karma will reverse on yourself and you'll either become that kind of being yourself or you'll become something similar.
I can see that. I've seen that in my life. I've seen that in many people's lives. They start off going down a bad
You know,
path and then they go the other
or
way.
like saying I'm never gonna do that,
Yeah,
and then you do it eventually.
they end up doing it anyways. Yeah. Yeah, and you were
You know,
talking, you were kind of chatting with me earlier about like the veil, the thinning of the veil.
yeah. So right now, because we're coming to the culmination of this age, the veil is lifting between the seen and the unseen, and they're merging together at the moment because that's what happens in these times. The unseen becomes seen, and so right now we're just getting flashes of it and moments of it, but eventually it actually they both merge into each other completely. So um, all the things that have been unseen so far are actually going to become seen, and if if your being isn't ready for it when it comes, you're going to have a really hard time with it.
Right. Right. Oh man, that's I've been thinking like that too a lot lately. You were talking about, and I was telling you about some of my little experiences that I had, but um, kind of the middle path and how people are being drawn to the right and the left really hard. And I can see that as
You
well,
know,
even like moving. So I moved from northern US to the southern US, and now we're in the Bible Belt. And like, I do see a different attitude here. People are much more religious. And on the surface, it seems very nice and fluffy, and everybody seems really cool. But I've been around some people lately, so there's a lot of Baptists and Pentecostals here, but I work with specifically one Baptist guy now, and he's getting his doctorate in his religion. He's actually studying to go be like a priest or whatever. And he's very knowledgeable. He actually knew quite a bit about like the Elohim, and we were talking back and forth. Um, but then we got into like the Bible, and I don't think we've done a deep dive on like what my views are and what your views are of who El is and all that stuff. But since we last talked,
Yahweh and El,
yeah, well, yes, same deity from what it says, and some
same
depictions even
deity.
say
Yeah,
that Yahweh is the son of El, but it just
yeah.
depends where you're reading. But I was talking to him about that.
I've come to learn that God in the Bible is actually Anubis, the jackal,
Okay, and
and
that's
he is the God of the seven kings of the dead.
okay. That's kind of where I'm leaning too. And I'm just thinking phonetically about the word El. El. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Elohim. It's the Anunnaki. It's Enlil and Enki.
Yeah. Well, and then I've even thought about Lucifer. L. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Even though it's not an
yeah.
L, and
It's just it's so you got to remember in this realm it's confusion and lies at the moment,
the false light.
and
Right.
right. So that's confusion, and the more names they have, the more confused you get.
I agree totally. I do agree, and that's what where I was talking to him and okay, they killed a spider. I mentioned to them something about. I kind of made it into a joke. It did kind of hurt me. I don't like doing that type stuff. I like just putting them outside or whatever. Avoid killing whatever I can because I don't know. I see that as one day that karma might come back at me and something freaking titan might smash me, but without thinking about it,
I re- I
But
release most bugs that I have in my room or something like that too. I try to catch them and let them go.
yeah, yeah, I do no harm. You know what I mean? Not even to things that you don't think have souls, but apparently, and that's what I was going into with talking about the religious people with like the Baptists, and he defended what he had done using like a scripture in Acts about like killing and eating animals, and I was like, okay, well, it wasn't a eating thing, you know what I mean? And he kind of defended it again, like, well, for defense, and I'm like, it was a tiny little spider,
Well,
dude, like,
here's a scary thought for everybody to think about too. Is that so we don't necessarily all have souls. We all have spirit. Spirit is what was entered. So when they first created the body, it was kind of limp and zombie-like,
okay,
and then they put a spirit into the body, and then the body could function with the spirit in it. The soul is not ours. The soul is something that you earn while you're going through the trials. So you don't have an automatic right to your soul. You have to earn your soul.
okay.
So if you make it through life and you don't do works to gain your soul, then when you pass away, you don't have control over your soul and it gets dealt with the way it will be dealt with.
Okay, I like that. So if I were to rephrase that, then the spirit of the animals, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Would that be
Yeah.
okay?
Well, no, I get that, but I just want to clarify that because
That's fine.
a
No,
lot
I
of people
appreciate it.
automatically think they have their soul.
I'm confused about it too, man.
Like
Because
they
when you
think,
look into
like,
religion,
like people, right? People just think they're that's well, that's because religion's not as truthful as everybody thinks it is. It's actually a bunch of confusion as well.
that's
You got to remember if there is these entities that have been running this place the way they have, they're going to make sure that you're worshiping them through every avenue, and they're not going to let you worship truth. They're going to make sure that everything that you do here, whether it be negative or positive, still leads to them.
exactly the worship because the energy, as long as the energy is going to them, and that's what I tried to explain to him was like, and of course it's a lot of cognitive dissonance to get over. It was for me, just in the past year to understand that the person who I had been praying to my whole life was not who I thought it was, or that not the person but the entity, because I had been, that's who I prayed
So,
to. I prayed to Yahweh, man, and that's now figuring this out. I'm
yeah,
kind
we've
of,
all been there.
yeah,
We've all been there.
a lot of people
So
still
what I'm
are.
saying with that is, yeah, a lot of people still are. And so what I'm trying to say as well, there's like so you'll find a lot with like religious people, Christians, any religious people. It doesn't matter what label they're in, Methodist, Catholic, doesn't matter. If you're like that, you'll tend to find that most of them just do the works and go through the motions. But when it really comes down to like truly caring for somebody and like no matter what they do, they're actually quicker to cut somebody off and get them out of their lives quicker than anybody else. And that's kind of what's taught in most religions as well. And those people have a lot of ego and pride as well. If you look at like most people that don't
I'm
follow
right,
those
you're
things and
wrong.
are just
Yeah.
yeah, if you're living your life aloof, like most people that are looked up as sinners or negative people, we're all sinners. Nobody's out of that. It's funny when you find people in religion get so egotistical and prideful. They're like, you other sinners, you're bad, whatever they're doing. You'll find that those people are actually more truthfully caring and loving than people in religion.
Yeah, yeah. The people with the hardest lives are usually, and that they're usually the kindest, and that's kind of what I was going into too. Is just in that small act of killing that spider, this person who seemed so, godly or about that type of life. I saw that false light in them, as far as like, well, you think you have the right to take away the spirit or life from something that the creator made because you feel you have dominion over it, and that's where I feel a lot of the Bible is false doctrine, is like anything about that. And I was going into it with him about the Old Testament God to the New Testament God and how it went from a vengeful God to a loving God. And he agreed with me. He didn't have an answer for me on that. And that's
I've always found it true that, like even in myself, because I don't follow religion. I don't I don't do any of that stuff. And I've always been quicker to sacrifice myself to save somebody else 10 times faster than any of those people. And then even with other people that live, like your biker types and mobile home parks and just people that, they believe in like a God, but they believe in like the source type of God or the all God that's in everything. And they're not real religious and all that. Those church going people are going to stand on the riverbank and be scared, and the biker guy is going to dive in the river and try to save the dog or the person way faster than they are.
right, right. Yeah, I have seen that. I won't say all of them, but yes, generally, I
Not
will
all
agree
of them,
with you. I
but
will agree with
generally,
you.
I would say it's a lean more towards the average person,
Right, right. It's more
so-called
of,
a sinner, than
yeah.
the religious type. I find religious types to be very scared and kind of weak most of the time.
That's what a lot of the going to religion is about, to have some kind of security. And that's what it all boiled down
Right.
to when they started questioning me about my stuff. I know they're a little sketched out by me because I have mentioned numerology, and of course they consider that divination or whatever, whatever you spell words. So
Right. Well, that's why they teach. That's why they teach that. They teach you to not. What does it say that? Like looking into knowledge and information and studying all that kind of stuff is to them kind of like blasphemous because then when you do, you can find out the truth. So they don't want you to do that.
right, right. No, I totally agree. That's where I'm kind of getting confused on the whole thing. But that's also why I've been so interested in like Baal lately, because one of the other spellings of Baal is Baal. And then after looking into that, I found it was a son of El. It was an actual, El was depicted as a bull
So
god. Go ahead.
yeah. So it's fun to research and learn about all the different beings. Learn about all that stuff. But when it really comes down to it, it's all irrelevant.
What
Um,
the reason
the
I'm
the
trying to
all
do
of
it is
all.
to disconnect these people's minds from their religion. You get what I'm saying?
Oh,
If
I get what you're.
possible.
I get. I'm not attacking you or what you're doing. We
I
all
got
go through that process.
you.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying you get to a culmination when you finally figure out what's all about. Is it that you don't want to be idolizing beings, worshiping beings? No man, no woman, no angel, no demon, no spirit, no anything. Anything with a name, you're not to worship, idolize any of them, because the all of all, if you think about that, it subtracts and makes nothing. So it's actually the man with no name or nothing. It's not a man. It's the essence. It's the essence of spirit, soul, and all in all. Because it's the all of all. It's the infinite intelligence, knowing the past, future, present, and people that really come to a centered, harmonious, graceful spot really kind of believe that's what God really is. And then also, we got to think about what the words were saying. Like God's dog backwards. That's why it's named God, because dog is backwards. It's kind of a derogatory name for that being.
Yeah. It's inverted to
Yeah,
make
right,
the holy or the
right. So you can appreciate and look up to and love and care for beings that have helped you find true knowledge and come to a true understanding of things, but don't idolize them, don't worship them, don't bow down to them. Once you do that, you're disconnecting yourself from the source. You want to eliminate the middleman
taking
or
us
woman.
yeah, taking a side. Yeah. And that's where it
Taking
ties back into
sides.
that, how they don't want to help others because it's, well, I'm right and you're wrong and you're not going to be saved anyways, so why would I put my neck out for you? You know
Right,
what I mean? If you're not on our
right,
team, if you're not in our tribe, when
right.
we're all in the same tribe, we're all in this together. Oh
True.
geez, that was a COVID saying, my bad.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's all
It's a better.
brother all the time. And it's really tough, because when you come down to figure it out, we're in the fallen prison realm and prison or prism, and we're here as it's a training ground for beings. And what it is like you have to go through this process to understand and understand the positive and negative so that you can become a balanced and centered, harmonious, graceful being, so that you don't enter into those realms without steady and steadfast thought beforehand, so that you can be a very coherent human.
Yeah, I agree. I do like that. No, that's what kind of we were hitting on earlier with the middle path and not really taking one way or the other. I kind of, and I've been looking into some stuff. I don't agree with the whole the Palladian theories and whatnot. I've read about it a little bit. It's kind of interesting. I like their in a way, I know it's misleading, but they're kind of teaching you right to bring your vibration up. They
Well,
don't
that's
really
what I'm
give you the
saying. That
formula, but
I'm not saying disregard these beings
yeah,
or any beings. You're learning from everybody. Everybody's passed knowledge down from every generation and age and eon. So we're learning from these teachers through all this for thousands of years of all these beings being reincarnated, learning and going through the process. They're us, and so
I like
we are
that.
culminating these teachings into ourselves to become more knowledgeable and never discredit anyone. But what I'm saying is you don't want to worship them or idolize them.
Right. No, totally.
But it's perfectly fine to learn anything from anyone.
I like that.
Everybody has something to offer.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's kind of where I do like talking with the guy too and learning from them and kind of expanding my mind on what they know because then it gives me more just like I give him a reason why I went away from the Abrahamic faiths. He's coming back to me with something, but now he's asking me questions. Now I can kind of not I'll say it, arm myself better with information, to kind of help people get out of that mindset of worshiping and being under one thing. You know I'm on the same page as you as far as the source and not following
Well,
any
that's the thing. It's
deities.
like the only ability we have as beings here is to set seeds.
Yeah.
The more you try to bang something into somebody else, typically they're going to go away from it,
Yeah.
or it's going to take a lot longer. It's a lot better to be in a very humility or very centered and balanced place and give them a very short version of what you want them to think about, and then leave it alone, because then they will more than likely put water on it quicker.
Right. Right. That's what I found too. Yeah, I did. I was planting little seeds and I pushed a little bit harder and then there was some pushback and then I drew back. And I'm just going to show them to because I know we all get along.
And
We're
then
all
they'll
humble.
typically come back. Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Everybody comes around. We're in a circle. We're in a circle like right now, so everybody comes back around.
Yep. That's what I like.
And
Even when we're
plus,
not doing these podcasts, I like to do that in real life as well. Just everyone
yeah.
around you,
And
try
plus,
to enlighten.
when you're trying to share information with another person, whether they believe it or not, or whether it irks them or makes them feel better or not, it still shows that you care.
Right. Yep. I like that. Yeah. I hope people see it as that too. And that's how I try to do it in a caring way. I don't speak to them like they're lesser than me or like I know something. That's how I like to diffuse people is tell them I really don't know crap.
Right.
But
Well,
I,
it's not even. I don't even know if it's about them caring about it or not. I think it's more or less that's just how we're programmed.
right. Right. No, that's kind of what I've been up to for the last month and then just taking care of. I did a couple podcasts with some guests from some other YouTube channels and we're setting up some more
That's
stuff.
cool.
I've been kind of jumping in some open panels with some truther communities too and meeting some cool people. Um, yeah, there is a lot of division between them even right now. It seems like there's a lot of
Oh
fake
yeah.
gurus out there trying to get people under
Oh
their
yeah.
wings while everybody's insecure and scared and unsure about what's going on in the world, which is the best time to do it.
Right.
Hey, I'm your
Well,
savior,
that's it.
man.
It says that in the Bible. I mean, even it talks about, and we're in that time right now where all the so-called false teachers. It's not necessarily they're a false teacher, but because of the angle that they're taking at it with the pride and the ego, it becomes false.
Right.
Now, it, um, everybody has to realize that no man or woman can save another man or woman by what they know. That's not how this works. None of us have that ability or power. Only the all of all and the source has that power. We're literally just helping each other get closer to culminations of understanding and understanding of information and knowledge.
Yeah.
But you're never gonna be able to save somebody else. You don't have the power. No man does. No woman does.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree totally. Do my best to not leave that. See, that's where I get very kind of in a dark place in my head about like the whole ascension thing and whatnot, and
I've been there.
not having to be here anymore would be great, but also like leaving everyone behind
We
is
don't have a
not the best
choice.
idea. You know what I mean? Like in my head.
Well, we don't. It's not a choice actually. Like I used to think that too. Like before I got to the place I'm at right now, I would get upset and angry and be like, I don't want to be here anymore. I hate this place and I hate the city I'm in. And it's so evil and yada yada yada. And all that pressure and that negative thought actually brought me to a new understanding and a new life, where now I realize that I had to be here and there is no other choice because none of us are ready to be in another place yet.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with that totally. That's you were sharing with me before about your opinions on like ascension and then kind of some people going to a lower realm and a higher realm, and I feel that intuitively myself. I think a lot of people do too, and I know it kind of ties in with but not really. I don't feel like it's a heaven hell type thing like you were saying. It's kind of like a dimensional type thing. It's kind of like
Right.
a
Well,
realm type thing.
a lot of people will never let go of their ego and their pride. And if you do that and also believing the fact that somebody is going to save you, like a Jesus figure or whatever you believe in, you're going to be really let down with that because you have to save yourself. You can't. Nobody else is going to save you.
I was having
Now
that.
there are a lot of beings here that don't have the capability to process information like others do, like people that have Down syndrome or people that have really heavy cases of autism and things like that. But those people are here to teach us things of these natures, and those people probably will just travel with you know uh, the it's hard to say they're going to travel with a place that's already predestined for that being already. We're all predestined to travel somewhere through our incarnations. Every being is prepared and ready to go to a place that was already in coordination with the path they're traveling.
Right, like we chose it essentially. I've heard that
Well,
before too.
I don't know if I don't know if we necessarily chose it. I think in each incarnation of each being's life, you either take the information and the knowledge that you learn and carry it with a prideful and ego, or you carry it with a humility. And the ones that carry it with humility will get to progress and ascend. Because it's not ascension and descension isn't like negative and positive like people are taught to believe. It's a false teaching. Ascension and descension is according to where you are as a being in your accumulation of knowledge and understanding.
Okay. So go into that more like as far as I keep having cool thoughts, but then you're saying stuff, and I'm just like whatever. I'm going with it. Go into that more with as far as like the information. So like it's just
Yeah,
levels.
so
We're just at levels.
right, you're right. So information and knowledge is what you do with it. So if you use it for selfish means, or power plays to molest or push or force another being into a decision, then you're not ready to ascend based on that. So you're going to more than likely descend or stay at a similar level. If you're going to ascend, it's because you've gone through the knowledge and information and got an understanding of it through humility and grace and harmony and and balance, and those people will ascend.
That just confuses the crap out of me as to why like certain groups with
It's
occult knowledge would keep it from others and try to control them with it when they know that is the end path. Well, I suppose only the higher ups know that, but
it's kind of like people pointing a finger at like there's a lot of people doing very evil practices in this realm. Some are doing it for selfish reasons, and those people will descend. Others are doing it for unselfish reasons and putting themselves through hell to actually ascend beings. It's a very tough play because typically with the evil beings that are hurting other beings, we want to get angry with them and say, "Why are you doing that?" It depends on why or what they're doing it for. So, like Aleister Crowley's a great example of a person like this. He did a lot of nasty things and hurt a lot of people, but also he wasn't doing it for selfish reasons all the time. He was selfish, but he was also unselfish too,
okay.
because he
I was about
actually
to say,
came
don't start
to a.
defending Aleister Crowley too much, all right?
I'm not
No,
defending.
no,
I'm
that's
not
fine.
defending him full tilt.
I like your opinion. Yes.
He. So what I'm saying though is ultimately there's beings like this that realize that maybe we need to be more negative and derogatory and disgusting to make the culmination come quicker. They're realizing that with keeping people in a false religious type with the religions and believing there is a savior coming to save their butts, which is way too easy, people, that you could just go through this life and be a sinner and somebody's going to save you. That would make it last way longer and we'd be in this prism much longer.
Right. It's a stand down tactic. It's I try to tell these people
Correct.
that, man, but that's what faith that's why they push the faith so hard in your head because if you don't have the faith, but the faith is a stand down tactic, honestly, in my
Right.
opinion, but no, I totally agree. I have heard that opinion on Aleister Crowley before. I've heard positive opinions on him before and even on like say for instance the Clintons, like that they're doing as much
Yeah.
bad as they can to be taboo because that's what they want. That's what they want. That's where they want to
Right.
go.
Some people are doing it fully out of selfish desires and disgust. And those beings aren't going to go anywhere. They'll descend. Or, like I said, they'll stay in a similar realm that's slightly worse, probably like a transhumanism realm. But the beings that are doing it unselfishly may ascend. And, like I said, they're like with the vampire thing we were talking about earlier, like all that negativity and all that darkness eventually is like a pressure cooker. And eventually that pressure will create light.
Right. The yin yang, the balance.
Right. So like recently I just went through a very negative stage where I was in this place where I was starting to attack and blame and persecute certain types of people. And then I came to an understanding and an understanding, and I came back to this positive John again because I came to an inner I was in an understanding form, which when you're in understanding you typically go to quicker reactions. But when you get to an understanding, that's when that light bursts out of the darkness and you create a new version of yourself.
I went through a very similar thing, and I just came out of it. Can I ask you, was it just like on the solstice that you kind of flipped, or?
Yeah, that can have something to do with it as well.
Me too. That's weird. All
We're,
right,
we're
I
all
like that.
we're all part of that.
Yep. And then the eclipses
It's
that
not
happened
just
last
it's
month.
not just me and you experiencing this right now. There's a lot of other people out there that are
Yep.
experiencing the same thing.
Yep. No, I totally agree because I had a huge mindset change at that time, and I went through the same thing, man. I'm sorry you went through that. You can message me anytime, man.
I'm not.
Well, I know you're
I'm
not.
not
You
sorry at
take
all.
everything as a great learning experience, but I still, I think about you, dude. If you're having
Yeah,
problems, you
I
can.
mean, I think I get it's right. No, I get you, and I feel for you there. I'm glad you care about me. Um, and that's what it comes down to, though. That's what I'm saying. Is like either you're a selfish, false caring, false traditions, and you're just doing the works, to put up a false image of yourself, which unfortunately most people do. And then you have your small class of beings that are here that are doing it unselfishly and caring for others, and they stand steadfast with that no matter what they go through. And those people blossom into new flowers because of such work.
Right. Well, good. That I like that. Yeah, and you put it in a good way. You take. I like how you always take everything so positive, even if it is like a hard time. You know what I mean? It makes me think about it better too. That's cool. That's crazy though. That
Yeah.
yeah. Did you see that? Whatever they said, it was a Venus Mars conjunction on solstice.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool, huh? That
Well, yeah, but that's another thing that everybody doesn't understand yet, or understand yet. They're understanding something, but it's coming out right now. If people were to follow all the information that these young soldiers of the true soldiers of the all, the unselfish, actually caring, good-hearted kids that are doing the work right now, and they're busting the bubble on all the false teachings and everything right now with everything. So like NASA in Hebrew means to deceive, and then also the two red lines that come into the NASA symbol are the split serpent tongue. And so I'm actually wearing a split serpent tongue shirt right now.
Cobra Kai. I
It's
saw
Cobra
that.
Kai.
That
Yeah,
was
it's Cobra
dope.
Kai. Though it's Karate Kid. But it's all about how you perceive things. It's it's a symbol and a picture has speaks 1,000 words. It's all what you perceive it to be and what it's teaching you, or and most people, we all go through the stage where we look at things, we all go through this, where we get into this frantic mode where we get depressed and we start thinking about how these things are negative and they're hurting us, and I'm mad and why. But then you come to a culmination at some point, if you're still caring and loving and truthful at your core, where you'll get the light out of that.
I was really curious because you just said you just said NASA and you were talking about NASA, and then for some reason I just been looking up words lately backwards, and so if you look up the word NASA backwards, it's Asan, and it means donkey ass or the one who
Yeah.
hangs.
Yeah, almost all English languages, if you search for their origins and their symbols and their first beginnings, all have a negative correlation to them. Another one's like touchdown in football. The actually, you got to all remember that when we left the English and all immigrated to America, we were looked at as traitors and treasonous beings. And so when we created our sports and stuff like that, with the obviously we know where our English language came from, they incorporated the words into everything. So actually, the touchdown, the first origin of that word comes from when your shit hits the water in the toilet bowl. That's a touchdown.
I did not know that. That's interesting.
Nobody does. Everybody really needs to start studying etymology and origins and beginnings of symbols, of letters and words. You really have to understand the words that we are speaking to really understand everything that's going on around us, or any knowledge or information. If you don't understand the knowledge, the language that you speak fully, then you don't really understand anything very well, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been working on it. It does. It opens your eyes to a lot. Makes you not want to speak as much. That's what I've noticed is I'm quiet a lot more often now.
Well, why do
Just
you think monks and stuff, monasteries, or like Tibetan um, peace guys, or so they don't talk very much?
yeah.
Or like the best, like balanced human beings you've ever met in your life are always people that don't really talk very much.
No, totally. Well, and that those words have power. Most definitely. Like
Or they don't talk a lot because they're a sociopath and they're killing people on the weekends.
I don't I
You know, it can go both ways.
yeah. Yeah, no, totally.
Or well, that goes back again to the part two of where you're traveling at. If you're traveling just in the left, which a lot of people are doing, or if you're traveling just in the right, or you're in the up or the down, the only ones that truly come to a real true understanding of knowledge are the ones that are balanced and harmonious and graceful and centered. because then when you so like this is how it works. So all material, physicality as we know it, are positive and negative atoms, protons and neutrons, and electrons working together in harmony and song to create a physical piece of matter, whether it's steel, concrete, a human, whatever it is. All the things that create those things and hold them together for a long time is a harmonious song of grace and balance. And so if you're just in the left by itself or you're just in the right by itself, there's that's like building a house on in a foundation on sand. It's not going to last. It's like a band-aid.
Right. Have you noticed lately, as well as with the veil thinning? I know you said you had some experiences. You are you okay with sharing those?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Um
go ahead.
so when it first started, and I didn't realize this when it happened, but when it first started, I was going to bed in my room, and all of a sudden I felt a presence in a ghostly being that was completely still. It wasn't moving its body or anything, but it looked like the Hades guy from what's that movie that
Hercules.
they just had recently? What?
Oh, okay. Never mind.
What? No, no. What's the movie recently that had? Is it not Avengers? It was with the Titans and stuff, and it had Liam Neeson in his uh um um
Clash of the
gosh, what's
Titans.
the name?
Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, Clash of the Titans.
Gotcha.
And you remember what Hades looked like in Clash of the Titans? The
Yep.
guy with the long straggly hair. That's what the guy looked like coming into my room. And I flipped over in my bed and kicked him in the mouth, and he vanished, and I just went back to sleep.
So like a Luciferian
But
type of being.
yeah, well, whatever. I mean, I don't really get into the labels.
Yeah.
I think labels are overrated. But he was definitely a being of the underworld, if you want to call it that. That definitely has pull. You could tell. But yeah, I think it was a warning for me to let me know. I didn't. Most of the time when those types of things happen to us, we don't realize what it is right away. Just kind of like a dream. You don't really realize what the dream means right away. You have to go through more life experience, and then when you do that, then the dream or the experience shows you what you went through. And so that it was showing me that now I realize what was happening right there. It was telling me it's the unseen and seen are going to start to merge now, and we're in that time.
Right. Right. No, I agree. I've been having weird experiences myself. I'll share mine, and then I was gonna go into the words a little bit more because, well, first thing, so we've had some strange. We've moved. I moved to a 33rd parallel north, like I mentioned to you. A
Mm-hmm.
few weird things have been happening since I've been here. So there's woods right outside of my house. Sometimes I'll go out and have a fire by myself, and there's dogs down the road. Of course, they'll so couple times this happened, but one time it was really, really ominous, and it was so I was just out there by myself having a fire. I don't know, getting close to like midnight. Somebody messing with you?
I had a feeling to check my six.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're talking spooky
but we're
stories now.
good.
But anyways, out in the forest, I could definitely hear something moving around, and there's really not any like bears or like wolves or anything around here. But it was a bigger thing for sure. Um, and the dogs were going nuts. They were going crazy over to my left. It's the neighbor's dogs, and then as soon as
The
the thing,
pets see everything.
yeah, I could tell they could sense it, and as soon as the thing moved, I could hear the leaves move in the woods, about 10 yards from me, not far off. As soon as it moved, the dogs shut up. They all shut up all at once, and I just kind of stood up and backed up slowly and went back into the house. Aside from that, my lady, you've met her. She had a little
Yep.
experience. She was here with our daughter by ourselves, or by themselves while I was at work. Nobody else was in the house. We do live with some other family, but nobody else was in the house, and she had heard footsteps outside the door. She thought I was home, and then she went to go kind of
Mm-hmm.
look out and see what was up, and nobody was there. Um, So I just told her, I was like, maybe next time be armed or whatever when you check, but just in case it isn't just the spirit, but maybe I'm thankful it was. But I don't know. She has experienced weird stuff in the past as well. I think she has a little bit more vision than I do to see
Well,
things.
women are naturally more inclined to that the spirit realm and what's the word I'm looking for? They are more.
Intuition.
What's the word I'm looking for, Pat? Yep,
They,
intuition.
they
They have
have
more
higher
intuition than
intuition.
men do.
Right. Yes.
Higher intuition than men.
Yes. Naturally. Yes. And I agree with
Especially
that
if you have
totally.
long hair, because long hair is antenna.
Yep.
So the longer your hair is, the more intuition you'll have as well.
Probably why
Well, yeah, no,
mine's so
me
crap,
and you both have short hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like my beard's been cut for a long time, and I just don't like a lot of hair all over me.
I'm
It's
just
just
I'm, I'm a
a
bald guy.
personal preference. But it does help if you have
Balding.
long beard or like long women. If your woman has long hair, or even a man that has long hair, that'll help with your intuition.
Okay. Yeah, and she does. And she does, but she's always,
Yeah.
I mean, her grandma was a shaman. Her grandma was from uh, Laos, I believe. And
Okay.
yeah, she was a shaman. She knew quite a bit and she shared it with them as children, but she's had real experiences seeing things. Like I said, back in the day, I didn't even believe in that stuff. I would tell her, "Oh, it's in your head. It's sleep paralysis, stuff like that." And then we did I started having physical ailments myself after she had seen things that looked like me, um, but
Hmm.
like a shadow form of me. So I think probably she can see something that I can't that is maybe attached, but I'm working on that myself, and being sober helps me a lot to control my mind in that sense. But um,
Yeah.
the other experience that I had, just a little thing, I was here with my daughter maybe a week ago, and I was just in a room with her. I was helping her go potty. We're potty training her. So, but I'm just sitting there with her on the toilet, and the light turns on out of nowhere. And I just turn around. I'm like, okay, nobody's here. Nobody else was in the house. She didn't touch it. I didn't touch it. The light was off because it was daytime, of course, we have a window. But then it just flicked on, and I was like, okay. And I looked around, and she didn't react. So I was just like, okay. And so I didn't react and kept going about my business. But definitely, I can see the veil thinning. And then when it comes to um, us and coming into our spiritual evolution, like you're talking about, I am starting to tell that my words have much more power lately than they have. Like almost instantaneous. As I speak, I create. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Have
I
you had that?
understand that, but yeah, but I've also come to learn recently that words aren't as powerful necessarily as we think they are unless we understand and understand how to use them correctly.
Right.
It's actually better to be in. It's actually better to understand the state of being that you need to be in. So, this is more of a warning for everybody that watches this. If you're just traveling in your life in a very left place or a very right place, and you're not very centered, you're going to get attacked more in these times, and you're going to be a lot more open to your personal being, um, becoming possessed or attacked, or um, even losing your life from it. So you really want to, everybody out there, the best thing you can do is, if you're like hoping that some by like prayer or wishing or telling or speaking words and hoping that these things that you do protect you, and putting it to an outside source to help protect you, that's not going to help as much as you doing it yourself by becoming a more centered and neutral being. Because what happens when you're neutral is you neutralize things. It's like, you know what I mean? You become a neutralizer. So the more centered and balanced and harmonious and graceful you are, the more protected you will be.
Right. Right. Do the shadow work. Do your own shadow work. And that's, you are
Correct.
completely right on that, because it's when I'm in the mind state that I know that everything will be okay and I'll be taken care of. The source will provide. I'm not worried. I'm not greedy. I'm not angry. That's when those
Yeah.
words give the most power. And I realize when I slip out of that, because I can't stay in it for very long, but I do, and I hit it. Like I was telling you about the ASMR that I feel, that has been increasing. I've been able to hold the vibrations longer through meditation, and just kind of centering myself. But when I'm in those mindsets and I think things or I say things and I'm in that high vibrational state, that's where almost instantly when I'm wishing for things, it'll start to move in that direction. And it's not, I'm not wishing for it in a selfish way. I'm wishing for it in a way that I can help those around me. You know, I don't, like I said, if it were up to me, I'd go sit under a tree all day and just meditate. And I just had a nice, you encouraged me and some other people as well, because I know you were fasting before, but I just did like a nice 5 day fast, and that cleared my mind really well. I not gonna lie, completely. I had like two small
Definitely watch
meals.
what you're eating.
Yep.
Everybody watch what you're eating,
Yep.
and necessarily not what like so much what you're eating, but how much you're eating.
Yeah.
It's like it's the abundance more or less and than what you're eating, and it does help to eat healthier stuff, obviously, but more people than not, we eat very abundantly and we consume more than we should.
I've
And
noticed that.
so you want to minimize your intake more or less than anything.
Yep.
Um, Also, what I wanted to say too, I had a brain fart. I'll come back to it in a minute.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Oh, I forgot what I was gonna say though.
All right. Oh, well, I mean, and after that little 5 day fast, it cleared my head quite a bit. Like I said, I was in a negative state, and I felt for some reason. I mean, I was stressed. You know, I was stressed and kind of, like I said, I'm starting a business and stuff. It's a lot of things going on at one time, but and I'm trying to get back on the podcast and do what I'm supposed to do that I know I need to do. Um,
Yeah, we're
you know,
definitely ready to start doing the podcast again.
yeah,
Just keep
yeah,
on going with it
yes,
for sure.
I totally agree. There's not a whole lot of leeway and time to waste with the
No,
information.
we're in very urgent times to help others
Yeah.
and understand knowledge.
Well, and I feel like even if it's not like super in-depth knowledge, I feel like sharing our
Mhm.
experiences and that like we had been going through negative stuff and we had been maybe seeing
That's
stuff.
huge.
Yeah, well, and it confirms a lot for other people, whereas they might think they're crazy, like everybody might think they're crazy, but I know.
I think we're starting to get past that part now because everybody's starting to see everything's falling apart
Right.
right now,
Yep.
and it's because everybody's in a shortwave system of left and right on their own.
Right. Yeah, no, that's I don't want to make it seem like I'm crazy or anything, but that's I talk to other people and they seem like they're having a lot of other experiences too. I mean, not everybody, but
Well, we're all going through this together, man.
yeah,
We're all one. Everybody's operating on the same energy, so we're all in the same energy. So we're all together in this, whether you believe it or not.
yeah, yeah, keeping all everybody's focus on a submarine and stuff.
Oh, that's what I was about to say. So
Go for it.
this is the point to existence. This chasing the source and the all of all, the infinite one, the infinite essence. That is the culmination of your incarnations and your many lives of eternal life. If you want to have eternal life and eternal existence and eternal knowing and understanding of who you are in each life, the whole point of this thing is to keep chasing the source and the all of all to gain closer and closer connection with it because you're never going to catch it ever, ever, ever. It'll always be so much further ahead of us. It's infinitely ahead of us. So it's an infinite chase. But if you're not on the infinite chase and you're living in a separate, divided place of believing negative and positive or separate, and you're judging and hating or loving too much or any of these things, and you're not centered and balanced, trying to get closer to the source that way, then you're gonna be lost in each incarnation and not know who you are each time you're reborn. Or gain a long, long life and not die so quickly. So that is the quest of of existence, is to keep trying to be the most balanced and centered being you can be, and travel into the left and right and up and down from a centered place so that you can return quicker. And then also, the more that we connect ourselves directly to the source, that's an infinite path that will never end. You'll never get to it, but you'll always be chasing.
Okay. What do you mean? Yeah, I'm not gonna get to return to the source. Come on, man.
No, you nobody ever nobody no you're already there. It's a matter of you're never going to be on the same level as the source. Otherwise, existence couldn't exist.
Right. Okay. I get that. Yeah.
It
And
has to stay on its own so that it's always protected and always can be. If any being, angel, demon, human, extraterrestrial, alien, whatever label you want to put on it, ever caught up to it, then it would destroy everything and nothing.
nothing would what? That last part you cut out.
Oh, I was saying nothing could exist if any being ever caught up to it.
Right. Right. No, I agree. That's have you seen that movie, the Thor Love and Thunder? The new one?
No,
No, you got to watch that, man. That's
I watch reruns of Elf a lot. That's like what I've been doing lately. I watch. You remember this old show Elf from
yeah.
back in the '90s? I love that show. I've been watching a lot of that on Freebie.
Oh, okay. I know you're talking the dude who eats cats.
Yeah, yeah.
No, you got to
I
watch
love that show.
Thor Love and Thunder. I'll send you a link where you can watch free movies and stuff. But
Oh, cool. Yeah,
you'll
I'll check
like
it
it
out.
cuz he goes through and he so it's Christian Bale, I think it is, who is the bad guy
Okay.
in the movie, and
Okay.
he's like a dude on a planet and he loses his daughter, and his god, he finds his god on that planet, his deity, and he asks him basically to help him, you know. And so I won't spoil it too much, but his god is not what he thinks he is. He's not a nice god. Anyways, he ends up getting possessed by this sword. It like comes to him, and then he starts taking down all the gods, and he starts traveling to
Mm.
all the different realms and killing all the gods because he wants to get to the source. Because and it doesn't say the source in the movie, they don't tell you that, but at the end of it, he's like with Thor, and then you see a big being that's like a meditating like space being, and when you get
The
there,
more gods, the more gods, angels, demons, traditions, works, materials that you put between you and the source, the more disconnected you are.
yep. Well, and that's I think that's kind of what they're telling you in the movie in a way,
Yeah,
in a
I could see
roundabout
that.
way. They're telling you because
Yep.
they didn't even mention, but they said he wanted to get to like basically the all of all, because once he got there, he could have whatever he wanted. He could have his negative, his
A
it,
great.
it didn't matter if he was a
Another
bad
thing
or a good
too, real
guy.
quick.
Go ahead.
Yeah, right. Another thing I wanted to mention real quick too is I can only go to about 10:50 here.
Yeah, go.
We got like 5 more minutes. Um, what I wanted to mention though too also is that on that topic point, uh, dang it, deleted
We're talking
and
about the
first
source.
podcast again.
Yeah, it's all good, man.
Yeah, I know, but I forgot what I was going to say. Maybe it'll be for next episode, or remember in a minute.
No worries. I got
Because
one
I
more
started
thing.
talking about need to. Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was gonna ask you as well. Aside from that, like basically, he gets to the end of the movie, he can go to the source, and the source is benevolent. Source doesn't care whether you did good or bad. It just gives you what you want based on, you know what I mean, your karma essentially, or what your wishes
Yeah.
are. But
Right. Just because you're connected to the source doesn't mean that you're all of a sudden, bam, now I'm connected to the source and now I'm just as good as the source is. It
no, no,
don't work
no,
like that.
no, no.
You're like a baby that's crawling out of the womb when you meet the source for the first time one on one.
Right.
And then, like I said, it's infinite work forever. You'll never catch up to it. It's always going to be advanced more than you.
That's good though, because that's kind of beings we are. We
It
always
has to
want
be.
constant
Yeah,
advancement.
it
So
has to be. If it wasn't, then there would be no existence.
right. Well, and because since we are a part of it as we advance, it advances as well. So there's no, yeah, I get what you're saying. I totally understand.
It's yeah, the source is so much further advanced than us. It's insane
Do you know
to
much
think
about
of.
the
It's not
Akashic
even
records?
fathomable.
Do you know much about the Akashic
What?
records?
Yeah. Oh, that's what I say. You just remembered. That's exactly what I put the brain part on. I was going to tell everybody to learn more about what we're talking about right now. Go read the Emerald Tablets by Thoth.
Okay. Yep.
It'll totally get you to understand what we're talking about with the olive ball and the source.
It's not very long either. It's pretty short.
No, it's short. You can actually download. There's an app I think that has the whole Emerald Tablets in it that you can read right through it.
Isn't it also called the Book of the Dead?
It's free. No, that's different. That's like
Okay.
the Egyptian Bible.
Okay. I thought okay,
Yeah.
one
The
of them
book of
are the
the
other
Book of the
ripped
Dead is
off.
the Egyptian Bible.
Okay. I think some of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth are quoted in the Egyptian book Bible,
Yeah,
right?
sure. Yeah, totally. But
Such
the
as the
Emerald
Bible.
Tablets are totally separate.
Right,
Yeah.
right. They all ripped each other. Zoroastrianism and all that stuff. They all told the same story over and over.
Right. Even so, like the Kabbalah and the greater, there's two different Kabbalahs. There's the lesser lesson and the greater lesson. And the greater lesson is very similar to the Emerald Tablets.
Yeah.
It talks more about the macrocosm and the microcosm.
As above, so below. Yep. Yep. That's where that one came from, right?
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask you if you knew much about the Emerald or the Akashic records because I wanted to talk about that
Oh
with you
yeah,
at some
that's what
point.
I studied. I studied that like years ago. Yeah.
Oh, and I
I
was
could
thinking
probably
about it.
use a. I'm probably gonna read them again just because I'll probably read the Emerald Tablets again here real soon because it's always every time you read something again after you've gone through life experience, then you'll pick some things up you missed before. Just like when you watch a movie and then you go through some life experience and you go back and watch that movie again, and you're like, oh, I missed that the first time. Well, it's because you went through an experience in your life that opened your eyes to something you weren't seeing before.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean though. The past incarnation or past incarnation memories, the Akashic records. Because I was just
Mm-hmm.
pondering on that. I got to do some more research on it too. We should do a show on it. But
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
was thinking that would
totally.
be such a scary thought to access your past memories, man. Because then you would have to
Well, that's
remember.
why we're in a state in amnesia
Yeah,
because we're disconnected from the source.
yeah,
So the more meditation and the more balance and more understanding you become, the more you'll start to have visions and understandings of who you were in your past lives.
okay. That's probably why I don't because I'm so scared to remember like my past children or things that had happened to
I,
them or
I've 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 learned who I was in some past lives, and it's
yeah,
very and I've had a really hard time with it because there's certain things that you study and research, and not everything's what it is at first. You can be reading false teachings about that being or true teachings because some beings have been slandered incorrectly to
right.
fool you.
Yeah. No, I agree
So
totally.
there's a lot of ancient stories that are written about certain beings that aren't correct, that is not actually truthful.
Let's do that
Because
one
then
too.
you'll read another source from another person that'll say a whole different story about that certain being.
Yep. Yeah. Are you on the same page as far as like Jesus being Zeus?
Jesus is Lucifer.
Okay. I've heard the theory about him being Jesus. You know what I mean? Say
But
it in
that's
Spanish.
like once again, it's
Just
yeah.
different
I mean,
names. I got you.
there's two different Jesuses though. That's another trick.
Yeah.
So like there's the Jesus yogi teacher that was a black man,
Yeshua.
just like the three kings that were black before all the other part happened. Then when he was killed and resurrected, so-called 3 days later, that's when the cloned one comes out with the demon entity in him that did magic tricks and illusions to trick people.
Oh. Okay. I got you. I
Yeah,
I
I've
like
been just learning about that recently.
I like when we talk because I don't get a lot of those different perspectives, and like even the Gnostic texts talk about like the snake not being the enemy and stuff. But
Yeah,
it's a good conversation,
it's
man.
all it's all a perception.
Yeah, yeah. We should let's pick like yeah like going into the more of the. Would you be interested in something like that? Like going into kind of. decoding who more of the deities are?
Yeah, I'm always down to do whatever.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, let's collaborate on that more, but I don't want to keep you too long. I think
Yeah,
this
no,
was
I think this is a good spot to quit for this one because my throat's starting to get sore. I haven't talked this much in a while.
no, it's a good practice. We'll work it up again, and then we'll call it tonight, and we can recap more on the next week about basically like more research, and we'll come back with some more stuff. I did like catching up with you though, and just kind of seeing what was going on for the
Oh, dude,
past.
I've been waiting for this.
Yeah, yeah, me too,
So,
man. I
yeah.
appreciate it. But I'll do the close out here, and do you want to say anything before you go?
I just want to say, we're all here playing our part. Nobody's greater or less than anyone else. We're all equally the same, and we just all have different parts to play. And we're all sacrificing ourselves in this really hard game to show our love and care for another.
I like it. I agree, and until next time, may you all be favored. I'm gonna exit out now.
Bye bye. All right, that was great.
Yeah, I like it.
Good to see you again, Patrick.
You too, buddy. Do you wanna hold on one sec? I got the end of the
Yeah,
recording
you
here.